Hey everybody, it's Linda. This is the second installment of my video blog, and yeah, I'm still learning, and I'm sorry you have to see the screen in my glasses, but it's fine print, and I want to read you something that's very special to me. You might have noticed that I changed the name. It's now the Hippie Chick Revival. That, as was suggested by a friend, sort of includes everything I want to share, which is a lot. This one thing that I want to share today is about my friend Hellen. I'll just read it to you. It's called Hellen, Champion. I've always thought of myself as small, little. Now I can see, when I look in the mirror now and again, I can compare, and I see I'm a bit larger than some. I think little Linda comes somewhat from what my dad used to call me. It comes mainly, though, I think, from my tendency to put others ahead of myself and to feel myself small in the big scheme of things, trying not to take myself too seriously, though I know I fail at that a lot. But trying to put my place realistically in this whole karmic thing. And you know, I always felt like a giant when I was with Hellen. It was just how she looked up to me. And at the same time, I looked up to her. I guess we both became giants when we were together. I miss her so very much. I met Hellen in 1982 at Crossroads, a residential facility for folks from 1 to 18 years with some degree of mental retardation. I was a special education teaching assistant for Birdville ISD, and we went in daily to do training with the residents there. Hellen was 12 years old, with a smile as bright as the sun, a personality that found humor in almost everything, and the kind of beauty that goes soul deep. We clicked immediately. We became friends quickly, and though her mental age was somewhere between 3 and 5, we were level when it came to spirit and heart. Simply put, we loved each other unconditionally. There were times when Helen's behavior, sometimes acting out for attention, other times because of being over-medicated or mismedicated, interfered with her education and changed her personality. And there were times when she would only respond to me and wouldn't cooperate with the others. When Crossroads closed in 1984 or so, might have been 85, I'm not sure, I became Helen's official advocate. I'd had to wait until we weren't working together on a daily basis to avoid the conflict of interest thing. Being her advocate meant I went to meetings about her treatment and educational plans, and I was the one to approve any medical procedures. But the best part of our relationship was that it was going to grow. In 1987, when Hellen turned 18, she was no longer a ward of the state and she needed a guardian. I had no money to afford court and attorney fees, but I was really worried when I heard that they were going to send her back to Corsicana, the place of her birth, and appoint a neutral person, some stranger, as a guardian. That was a future I didn't want for her. Yes, her parents lived there, but they were unable to care for her. Both of her parents were mentally retarded also, and the state had taken her away when she was very young because they couldn't care for her. Love her though they did. I mentioned my concerns and sadness at not being able to see her if she went away. And the word got around. Someone in MHMR, some caring, compassionate person, made it known that I would like to assume guardianship if only I could afford it. That was all it took. The intent and love was put out into the universe, and spirit acted. Attorneys volunteered their services. The court waived all fees. And the county even sent me gas money to travel to appear in court. Everything went well, and I became Helen's legal guardian on December 13th, 1987, her 18th birthday. We knew each other for 24 years, and she became a member of our family. When my granddaughter Rashida was born in 92, Helen delighted in telling staff and residents at the small group home where she lived that she now had a niece. She was so proud. And when Taihimba came along 11 months later, she told everyone about her nephew. Our son called her sister. Helen was such an integral part of our family, both mine and David's folks. If we attended a gathering and she wasn't with us, everyone was concerned. But then my mom became ill with Alzheimer's. It got a grip on her. And as the grip increased, I was less able to take Helen out for visits. Everyone missed her, but I just didn't have the energy to deal with my mom in a wheelchair and her forgetfulness and her needs, and with Helen's needs too. While she had no major physical disabilities, she needed to be reminded to zip up her pants after she used the bathroom, to refrain from cursing in front of my mother-in-law. Things like putting one foot in front of the other. Yeah, she needed reminding, and I was running so low on patience, and I just couldn't deal with both of them. On November 3rd, 2006, I came home from work. I remember it so clearly. I reached for the phone to call and tell Helen that Thanksgiving I would be bringing her home. We were going to party. And then it rang before I could pick it up. And my world changed forever. Helen was at Harris Hospital, and I was needed there. At first, I couldn't get a lot from the hospital staff, the person who called. But I needed to know what was happening, so I pressed, and the woman said, Helen died. Just like that, a little over a month prior to her birthday number 37, just as I was planning to invite her to our holiday feast. I called a friend who drove me to the ER, and I found that she had drowned, of all things, in a tub in the small group home. Supervising staff had failed. They had left her there alone. She had had a seizure, grand mal, fallen under the water, and drowned. When we arrived at ER, she lay on the gurney with tubes still coming from her nose and mouth, blood around the edges, signs of obvious attempts to revive her. She did not move, so still. A gentle smile seemed to hover around her lips. Her eyes were closed, her hands cold. I waited a long time for her to get up. She didn't move. Staff from the home and from MHMR were all around and crying, and I was dry-eyed. Why should I cry? This was not happening. There was a chaplain there, and she emptied the room except for my friend, herself, Helen, and me. And she prayed with us. It was so lovely a prayer that I could swear that she knew Helen personally. She said she could feel her sweetness, and that it was obvious she was greatly loved. Then I had a moment alone with her, my sunshine child. Helen and I were left to say our final earthly goodbyes. As I sat and held her hand, I saw and felt the last lingering bits of her energy spirit floating away. It was the first time I've witnessed that, such a crossing over. Though her human physical body had already stopped and her brain no longer functioned, there was just a little of her essence still hanging around, I think waiting for me to say I love you one more time in person and to help me begin to grieve. The days after were so blurred and uncertain. it fell to me to make the arrangements. The funeral director mentioned that a lot of times in situations like these, a guardian just walks away, that the actual official relationship is severed at their death. What? Our bond didn't end when she died. And so I told him, she's family, and I will not leave her. A friend helped me tread those waters of choosing plots and boxes and dresses, and her body was buried. Our whole family came to the service along with friends and staff. There were so many tears, so much sadness at her crossing, but so much joy in her life. It seems wrong to lose someone so young. I'd been making plans for Helen's future without me, for after my death. Plans that are now not needed, and that doesn't seem right. But Spirit knows, and there are reasons I'll never understand. Memories. One of Helen's passions was participating in Special Olympics. And I'm going to have one of her medals engraved into her headstone. Her specialty was the sprint, and that consisted of her trotting along with or behind the other runners, and me on the sideline trying to coerce her into moving just a little bit faster. Of course, it didn't matter what her time was or what place she took. She would always win with us. One year, as Helen trotted, she noticed a girl running a few feet behind her. To a regular athlete, this would have been good news. I'm not coming in last this time. But to Helen, it meant someone was getting left behind. So she turned, went back, and took the young woman by the hand, saying, "Come on now." And she helped the other athlete cross the finish line. There's no doubt in my mind that Helen was, is, and always will be a champion. Maybe the grand champion of all time. Peace.